What is good, everyone? My name is OJ and welcome to the PE Nintendo Switch news video. Today we've got a lot of great information for you, especially if you like Ubisoft titles, some more information on Snake Pass, in addition to The Binding of Isaac, Afterbirth Plus, and just a bunch of cool stuff. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So Ubisoft will be releasing fewer new IPs and focusing more on growing existing brands. So this information comes from Game Informer, which confirmed that Ubisoft won't release as many new IPs going forward and will instead focus on growing its existing brands. ZHugeEX on Twitter also elaborated a little bit more on the second half of that, saying that Ubisoft is focusing on nurturing current franchises by growing them into live titles with new content and growing engagement. So I think this is one of those things that was kind of long coming for Ubisoft. Ubisoft would always go out there and put out a lot of these new IPs in addition to their existing franchises, and maybe sometimes you saw some of the quality out of their long-standing franchises, like let's say Far Cry, for example, kind of drop. I was actually playing Far Cry 4 a little bit ago, and it's not that good. I think it should have been a lot better, and that's supposed to be one of their AAA really good franchises, and I just don't think it's that good. So I think if they did take away some of that emphasis on putting out so many new IPs all the time, because Ubisoft does release a lot, and sometimes it never really works out for them. Now, I always want there to be new content coming in, don't get me wrong, but over the course of the years, Ubisoft seems to be putting a lot of effort and time and money into certain new IPs, and maybe some of their other franchises necessarily haven't got as much as they should have. We saw what happened with Assassin's Creed. That franchise just basically got so boring to the point to where they had to say, okay, no more yearly entities of it. We're going to take a break and make sure we retool. So I do think that this is a good idea. Hopefully when the next Assassin's Creed comes to the market, when the next Watch Dogs comes to the market, and when the next Far Cry comes to the market, they are far more advanced as far as moving the gameplay forward and kind of moving beyond just the traditional norm and growing those franchises into something that to me would be more than what they are, because all of those franchises that I just listed, none of them are really awesome or like amazing that I have to have. They're just like, okay, when they're on sale, maybe I'll get them, maybe not. So hopefully they can go back to being like the AAA must-have day one games that some of them used to be. Alright, and keeping going with the Ubisoft news, Ubisoft says that they will be strongly supporting the Nintendo Switch. Again, this is something that Ubisoft always brings up every now and then. We've heard about 3 games so far that they're going to be bringing to Nintendo Switch for 2017, and that is Just Dance 2017, that is Rayman Legends, I think Definitive Edition, and in addition to that, there will be Steep as well, the open world snowboarding, skiing, action sports game. So there's a lot of stuff that they're bringing already, and there's going to be more. We all know about the rumored Beyond Good and Evil 2 that's supposed to be coming in 2017. Maybe we'll see something at E3. But Eurogamer also had this to say on Twitter about the whole thing. Tom Phillips, he said that Ubisoft says it will be supporting Switch strongly and points to high sales of Pokemon games to explain why it believes in the Nintendo brand. Now this is very interesting that he said they pointed to Pokemon games, and I don't think Ubisoft would just say Pokemon games. This is the reason why we're supporting them. I think I'm going to go a little bit further to that, and Ubisoft knows that there's a Pokemon game coming to the Nintendo Switch. And I know one thing about Ubisoft, when it came to last generation, they were not happy with the amount of effort that Nintendo put into, 1, marketing the system, and 2, bringing out their big hitters fast enough. Ubisoft was like, man, there's just not enough first-party Nintendo games that really drove the point home to why you needed to have the Wii U, and they were upset at Nintendo about that and was hoping that after 2014 that Smash Brothers and that Bayonetta and that all of those games that released then, Mario Kart, would help drive sales more, but it didn't. I think Ubisoft is definitely happy with the first year lineup with Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, Zelda, Splatoon 2, a lot of great games coming in 2017, so Ubisoft has definitely put that support out there, but pointing to Pokemon is something that's very interesting when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, because that is not confirmed yet, but there's been a lot of rumors about that. Not only that, but GameStop even put up something saying, hey, you can play Pokemon on home and on the go for the first time. So I do think that they are somewhat alluding to something that they do know, that there is going to be a Pokemon game, and that's probably the biggest, I would say, X factor, or not necessarily X factor, but that's the biggest thing with this Nintendo Switch to me, that is just saying it's going to be much better than the Wii U, because it will have that Pokemon game, in my opinion, based on who I've spoken to and what we've seen so far. It's going to have a mainline Pokemon game. It could have multiple mainline Pokemon games, and they're not just going to say that out of nowhere. They could have said anything, but they mentioned Pokemon. So I do feel that Ubisoft is somewhat alluding to something there, and I do feel that the Nintendo Switch is definitely going to be more successful because it will have those franchises that made the 3DS successful on the Nintendo Switch. Next article, we're talking about the new game that was revealed by Sumo Digital, the same dudes behind Sonic All-Star Racing Transformed. They said their new game, Snake Pass, only took 1 week to get up and running to the Nintendo Switch. 1 week to port it and get it up and running on the Nintendo Switch. Plus, they actually had it running today in a live stream. So this visually impressive puzzle game, Snake Pass, took only 1 week to port to the Nintendo Switch according to the developer. This is definitely promising, and it bodes well for developers trying to make sure that they can get their games on the Nintendo Switch easily, because the Nintendo Wii U, there's a lot of complaints from developers in addition to the Nintendo 3DS. In a recent streaming session, developer Sumo Digital showed the PS4 version, and they also showed the Nintendo Switch version, basically comparing them, see how they fare against each other. Remember guys, Snake Pass is an Unreal Engine 4 3D platformer, has a very colorful vibe to it. It looks a lot like, kind of like Yooka-Laylee, but like in an alternate world, or maybe like you go to a different world and then there's like the Snake Pass dude and Yooka-Laylee can meet up. They're not attached to it all, but they look very similar when it comes to just the vibrant graphics. It looks like the Banjo-Kazooies and all of those games that you remember back in like the N64 era. It looks like it's finally been made modern with the graphics, and it's looking really good. This is a game that I'm interested in. Sumo Digital is a fantastic developer, and I'm really looking forward to playing this game, Snake Pass, because I think it can be a fun 3D platformer, as we're seeing a resurgence of 3D platformers here. And personally, me, I like 3D platformers more than 2D platformers. I think it's just so much more fun to kind of run in and gauge the 3D depth of things. 2D platformers are cool and all, but 3D, I think we didn't have enough of those in the past generation or two, heck, even back to 3 generations. So I'm glad to see that we're getting some of these smaller developers go out there and put some 3D platformers out there and make 3D platformers like you would see back in the day. If you go to the link in the description below, skip to around the 20-minute mark, you can actually check out the version of the game running, or you can just watch the whole thing yourself. It's looking pretty nice. And building off of being easy to develop on, the next article we're going to be talking about here is the Binding of Isaac developer, who talks about the Nintendo Switch being by far the easiest and most programmer friendly. So this is interesting, and I want to get you guys' opinion on what he means here. So this is according to Tyrone Rodriguez, the president of Nicalis. This is what he had to say on the matter. Quote, "The Nintendo Switch is by far the easiest, most programmer friendly so far," he said. "I know this sounds like lip service to Nintendo, but it's actually not. If this wasn't true, we wouldn't be able to get these games up and running as quickly as we have, and we wouldn't be able to have a launch title. It's light years ahead of what we are doing with Wii U." Rodriguez also mentioned that in addition to his team's 3 announced titles, The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus, Redout, and 1001 Spikes, they have way more Nintendo Switch games in development. They'll have competition though, as a lot of other indie developers have caught on to how easy this Nintendo Switch platform is and also have dev kits and are creating games. Quote, "We used to enjoy the lack of developers coming to Nintendo consoles. It was a lot less competition," said Rodriguez, "but it's not a bad thing. More games on every platform is always good for the industry, and it's also good for sales as well." But that's one thing that he does make a strong point, because Nicalis, as far as their games, they usually sell pretty well on Nintendo systems, just because the lack of third-party support over the past few years have not been good. So a lot of Nintendo fans often have to buy indie games if they're going to play anything outside of Nintendo, and a lot of indie developers have done very well and have made good amounts of money on Nintendo hardware. But it is going to be a little bit different this generation. You're seeing a lot of developers and bigger publishers come to Nintendo Switch that you haven't seen there. The biggest thing that they're definitely going to have to worry about, well, not worry, but just something of cause for concern, is this system getting a lot of Japanese support, and a lot of those games like the Tales of or Dragon Ball Xenoverse, games like that that were never available on Nintendo platforms beforehand, or at least haven't been available on the Wii U and Nintendo 3DS, those are now going to be available on the Nintendo Switch for people to buy, and that's definitely going to take some of the money out from consumers. But that's why it's really important to build a big install base so you can have a lot of consumers who are interested in a lot of different games. The fact that Nicholas is bringing over so many games is once again proof, like he said, that it is an easy platform to develop on, and any developer who has a title, if they spend a little bit of time with the Nintendo Switch to get to know the hardware and to get to know what they're doing, I'm pretty sure you can see any type of game on the system. I think it's going to be a good thing for indie developers starting out, and even after some of those bigger games come over, if we do get them, I still think it's going to be good just because of the portable nature of the system. To me, indie games and portable go hand in hand, but now that you'll actually have a nice screen to play with, a big, nice 6.2-inch screen, HD, on the go. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and hit that like button if you did like it. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future, and subscribe to PlayerEssence for more news, discussions, and reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys for the next video. Peace!